Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana Hobby Guy. Back today with another YRR video, the Ortour Rotary. I do a lot of tumblers, whether it's for sale, for friends, for gifts, or Facebook Marketplace, whatever it might be. I also have a couple of contracts with the Department of Homeland Security in the city of New Orleans, and I provide a lot of their tumblers. So I do a lot of these, and although I don't do a lot of videos on them, I wanted to do a quick video today on a quick setup. Now, I did the original video on the setup of the YRR roller accessory, and that got into all of the intricacies of setting it up and first time use and so on. So hopefully you've watched that one already. If not, I'll put a link up in the top to that. But this one is going to be just a little bit different. I've learned a lot of little techniques over the hundreds of tumblers that I've done that make it a little easier for me. And let me just start with a couple of pictures. One of the things I did for this job is I've had to remove this riser that comes with the Ortour, and this is for when you have those odd shapes, you know, where the bottom of the tumbler fits into the cup holder of your car and the top gets really fat. And I like those and I don't like them. It's sort of like a love-hate relationship. But in this video, I'm doing a tall, slender tumbler. I've had to remove this, and this is a flaw in the design from Ortour because it stops right here. You see these tracks? They don't go further up. They should come up to about here. And when it stops right here, these wheels, the top of these wheels is slightly higher than the top of these rollers. So you can't put a longer tumbler like the one I'm using today is almost 8 inches long. It renders the YRR useless unless you take this off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over in the future, in the near future. I'm going to just use this piece of aluminum, flip it over, and I'm going to create a 3D printed part to put on here, so that I can not only have these two wheels, but 2 more wheels, because 2 is just not enough. So there needs to be 4 wheels. It'll be the 2 wheels with a spacer here and another wheel on top. And that'll make it really stable. And plus, when I'm flipping it over the other way, I'll be able to lower this down to the point where it's below the top of the YRR roller. So I just wanted to let you know that if you have this on here, and if you're doing a slender, all one size tumbler, that this has to come off in order to do that. Now, the setup, like I said, if you haven't seen the original setup, most of you probably already know this. Looking at the laser, this is the left side of the gantry, and this is the NEMA stepper motor with the plug from the control board. You unplug it from here, you plug it into your dongle, which goes to the YRR, and you set your roller up underneath the gantry, directly centered. It's just that simple. I mean, it's really super simple. If you have a question of whether or not this is the Y roller, this little yellow tab that comes on all of them is going to say Y on it. But when you're facing it, you just look to the left side, and this is the stepper motor that you unplug. Today we're going to be doing a slim. Now, it's not exactly the same size at the top as it is at the bottom, but it doesn't matter. It's close enough. We're going to do this tumbler, which is almost 8 inches tall, in the rose gold, and I really love the rose gold. It's the best seller if you're selling these like on Facebook Marketplace or Etsy or in your personal store. This gold is the #1 seller. I bought these in several different colors. I've got, I think, 4 colors of these, and the gold is the one that I have to constantly reorder. I get the most orders of gold. Now, with the gold, it doesn't really highlight the silver. This is a 302 stainless steel cup, and it's anodized. So when you take the anodized coating off, you see the stainless steel. And, rose gold on top of silver, it doesn't really highlight it that well, but still, I think it looks beautiful. I really do. The black is always the best. I love these cups because they're relatively cheap. I buy these on Amazon, and I buy them usually 4 at a time, sometimes 8. The last time I bought them, I bought 4. I usually buy 8 at a time, and they run about $7.50 a piece. And they come with this nice little stainless steel straw. It's got the little cleaner that you insert into the straw to wash it. A really nice tight lid. I've been using one for quite a while, and I absolutely love it. And one of the things that I really love about it is that it fits everywhere. It's a perfect fit for the car. And this is probably the best feature of all, is that it fits perfectly in all of your car cup holders. It also fits perfectly in all of your water bottle holders on the bicycles, which other cups can't do. And that's one of the nicest things I like about this. So with all that said, let's jump into the actual video here. And I've got my logo here. I've got this already set up, and I just wanted to show you that this is my work plane. This is approximately where I have my roller, my YR roller. If I come over here to the camera, you can see It's right underneath the gantry in the middle of my bed. I have this template around the outside. I'm not going through it step by step like I usually do, just because to save a little bit of time. So what I'm going to do is just come up here to this dotted square up here, and that'll zoom us to the work area right here. This square, this rectangle I have here, I keep saying square. This rectangle that I have here is the actual tumbler itself. So if I click on it and look up here, let me change this to inches. You'll see that the width is 7.87. So it's almost 8 inches. Now remember, we're laying this on its side. Now laying on its side from left to right, it's 7.8 inches. If we look at the height, it's 8.76. And how did I get the height? I went to Rotary Setup, Tools, Rotary Setup, and in here I put in the diameter over here. Now let me just back this off and go back to millimeters, because that makes it easier. So the diameter was 70.87, and I used a caliper to get that number, and all I did was put that number in here, and then it automatically gave me the circumference, which is 222.645, which I put in here. So that's what we're looking at here, is the circumference. So if I were to take and wrap a piece of paper all the way around the cup, these two ends, top and bottom, would meet on the other side. And a little later on in the video, I'll show you how to do this double-sided. This one we're just going to do single-sided. So we're going to leave it right where it is, which is in the middle, and go from there. Now, one thing you have to remember is you have to mirror the output for the YRR. So my logo is backwards, and my text is backwards. You see, you just mirror it right up here. Now, a little trick that I found is over here on the Move tab, and you can reset your work plane. Now, you see my work plane is, the height is 222.645. I put that in here, in the distance, and that resets the work plane. So I know that this is directly in the middle. On the laser tab, I have to set absolute coordinates. Now, I know if you have like a CO2 laser, it's different. On the CO2, you use user origin, but on the diode laser, the Ortour, the NAJ, I've tested it on both. You use absolute coordinate, and then at this point, all you have to do is set your cuts and layers. So now I know that if I right-click on this first layer here, I already have this one programmed for anodized aluminum. So anodized stainless steel is the same thing, because you're just removing the coating. And I know that on this new NAJ 40 watt that my settings are 15 and 45, because I've done some tests with it. On my older laser, my LU14 on the Ortour 20 watt, my settings were 1570. Remember something, folks, I don't recommend settings to anyone, because everyone's laser is going to be different. Everyone is going to be at a different sea level. Everyone is going to be at a different temperature, at a different humidity. And there are so many factors that come into setting your speed and your power that I don't now, and I never have recommended settings. And I look on these other platforms, especially like Facebook, where it seems like every post that a person puts up with a piece of their work, you got 10 people replying saying, what are your settings? Well, they're not going to be the same as yours. That's the great answer to that question. They're not going to be the same as yours. In my series of videos, the learning section, you'll find some on running tests. You can find it on vector graphics and on raster. You just need to have a sacrificial piece that you start your burn with, that usually it's only going to be one time unless it's wood. You know, wood has different moisture content any given day of the week. But on something like this, it's always going to be the same. So I just sacrificed one piece, you know, one tumbler of each different style. I would sacrifice and run this test on either side. I do the vector on one side and the raster on the other. And that gives me my exact settings where I don't even have to think about hitting that start button on the laser. I set my settings. I make sure that it's directly centered underneath the laser, and I hit start, and I'm good to go. So I highly recommend that if you haven't watched those videos, that you watch them now and you learn how to do those tests, because it will greatly enhance your pleasure when using a hobby laser, because you won't be wasting material. With that said, I'm going to shoot over here to my camera control, bring this out. Oh, and I have good news about this too. I never did have a company contact me about sending me a free camera to do a demo on, which I really badly needed. So I wound up ordering one myself. So yeah, I've got a new one coming. I've got a super duper cable where there's not going to be any slowdowns and going to be exactly what's happening in live time, unlike my HP Deluxe webcam from 1999. So I feel pretty comfortable in just hitting the start button on this. And I know that I've got it centered. I've gone over to my move tab. I've fired the laser. I've gotten the laser directly centered on the cup, and I know that this is ready to go. So, oh, by the way, this one is going to go out to one of my Patreon supporters. So if you haven't taken a look at my Patreon site, you probably should, because there are all kinds of benefits. You know, you can even get as much as 100% off in my graphics store, where I've got all types of Lightburn files and graphics, and I'm just adding more and more every day. But anyway, let's just go ahead and hit the start button and get moving on this burn. Now I'm going to move this down for a minute, down over here. And there was one or two things that I forgot. So let's jump up here into the settings. Now you see the little wrench and screwdriver up here? We're going to click on that real quick. And one of the things that I do here is I change my fast white space scan. Now if I change that, right now it's at 800. So let's take a look and see on the preview. We're looking at 31 minutes to do this burn. I'm good with that. That's not a problem for me. If you're not, you know, you can come in here and change this to 3000, let's say. And then when we preview it again, you'll see that it cut it to 20. Or you could, what I normally run it at is 8,000 if there's not a lot of little turns and maneuvers. At 8,000, you'll see it cuts the time in half. But I'm running this one at 800. You know, I'm comfortable with that. I'm not really worried about the time. And I want to make sure that, you know, nothing moves around, because as you can see, I have this set up on 4 boxes. I haven't yet printed the legs for my, well, I have printed them, but they didn't work right, so I have to redesign them. I'm going to redesign some much nicer legs for this, but in the meanwhile, I'm using these boxes. So I don't want this rocking back and forth too hard, because it's going to screw up my burn here. So that was one of the things. Another thing too, I want you to notice that I didn't enable the rotary. You see here, I didn't enable it there, and I didn't enable it here. It's not enabled. So I've come to find out that on many of the tours, depending on which model that you have, you don't need to enable the rotary. And actually, if you think about it, the rollers become the y-axis, so why would you even need to enable it? Now on CO2 lasers, you do have to enable it. I'm really not sure what the differences there are, but you do have to enable it on the CO2s. So now we've got this burn going. I'm going to let it just keep on here until it finishes, and I'll just sit back and be quiet, and I guess I will speed up the video here, and I'll see you when it's done. Okay, so I'm back, and hey, let me know in the comments, do you want to see the actual burn? Or is that just wasted time? You know, it used to be I didn't show it on the video, but I guess with the new camera coming and the new mount that I'm going to be making, it's going to be much nicer. But let me know, do you want to see it or not? So anyway, here's the final process in this is rinsing this off in the sink, and I'm going to apologize in advance for that ugly arm. I got a burn during the hurricane all the way up my arm and my side. But anyhow, this is how it comes out off the laser. It's black, and all I do is take a Brillo pad and I scrub it. Now a lot of people say you have to use the magic eraser, and yeah, you know, on some tumblers you do, like the black one for instance, but this is not going to scratch it, it's not going to damage it in any way, but it will remove the black soot. Now whether or not you get to actually see this on camera is another story. See there, it's mostly gone, but it still does look black. It's hard to get a good video shot of it, but that's the final product. That's how it comes out. And I also have a photograph of it where you can see it better. You can see the silver, And like I said, with the rose gold, the silver doesn't come out great, but it's not bad either. I mean, I really like it. I like the way it comes out. And this particular tumbler is going out to David Strickland. He is one of my Patreon supporters. And if you want, you can check out that site. The link is in the description. If you want to get involved in Patreon and help support the effort. All of my maker videos, the final products, are going to go out to one of my Patreon supporters, and I'm going to do that in order from the time that they signed up. My first one and this one are going to be going out this Friday when the post office reopens for packages. So that's about it as far as that's concerned. Let me get rid of this. I'm going to give you another tip, and I said I would do this at the end of the video. So the question that I get a lot is, how do I do this on both sides? And that's really pretty simple. What you have to do is take your work area, this rectangle, and it needs to be split into 4 quarters. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to split this up. So we're going to take this and we're going to look at the height, and the height is 222.645. If I bring up my calculator and scoot this over here, 222.645 divided by 4 equals 55.66. So I know I need to make 4 boxes that are 55.66. So how do I do that? I just go, I'll hold down shift while I draw my rectangle, okay? And then I will come up here and I will make them 66. And I'll press enter. So now I have a perfect rectangle, square, excuse me. I'm gonna select it. I'm gonna just bring it right up here into the corner, like so. Now with it selected, I'm gonna hit Control and the letter D, and that duplicates it. Now with my arrow keys, I'm gonna move this down until it's right on top of that one right there. So that looks perfect right there. Then I'm gonna hit Control and D again, move this one down, Control D one more time, move this one down so that it's perfect, okay? Now, this line and this line are the centers on both sides. It's just that easy. So if I take my graphic now and I bring it up here and center it on this line, okay, and then I hit Control D and I move, which duplicates it, and I move this one down to here, I now have them on both sides. And that's just how easy it is. And I've had a lot of people that have asked me, you know, how do I get it perfectly centered on both sides? And that's just the way to do it. Now, yeah, these aren't perfectly centered, but you know what? They're dang close. So I could show you the actual mathematic formula to get this absolutely perfect, but I've never had anybody complain when I've done double-sided doing it this way. So now all of these are toolpath. We don't even need this one. And we don't need this one anymore. Actually, we just need the 2 top and bottom to give us that center line. So you don't even need to do 4 of them. You can just do 2 of them, just the top and the bottom. And that's how you get your graphic on both sides perfectly lined up. So if you have any questions or comments, you know, feel free to leave them down below in the comments section. I try and answer, unlike a lot of the other YouTubers out there, and granted I have a small channel, but I try and answer all of the questions and comments that I possibly can in a timely manner. You can also head on over to my discussion board, my forums, and you can sign up for an account over there, and there's lots of great information that you can find there, as well as ask questions and get answers to your questions over there as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you for watching.